So this is the 2009 exam, question 5. Looking at this, my initial impression is spring question. Yep. So I'll let you guys look at that. You can pause it if you want. Okay. Time for me to come in. A block of mass 0.2 kilograms is held at point A. So that's in here. So A. I'm just converting all the information across. Being compressed by 10 centimeters. So now it's 10 centimeters. So B is the point where it's not compressed at all. The block is released and pushed by a spring across a smooth surface when the block leaves contact with the spring at point B. So what's it saying is that at this point, it's no longer being pushed by the spring, and now it's traveling at 5 meters per second. So what is the spring constant K of the spring? So essentially what we need to do, if we visualize it, is like here's the spring being compressed, then it's being released, and then this thing's flying away with velocity. Okay? So this is a way, we need to figure out a way of converting a spring into velocity. You know, some kind of spring ideas to velocity. And the main way to do that, well, essentially the only way that I know at this stage, is kinetic energy. Energy is the easiest way. We could use force and kx, F equals kx, but the easiest way is kinetic and spring energies. So that means we know that all the spring energy here, half kx squared, so converted to half mv squared. So half mv squared equals half kx squared, half, what's the mass? Half 0.2 times 5 squared equals half k times the distance. So that's in newtons per meter. So we need to do everything in meters and newtons. So this has to be in kilos, this is in meters per second, this is in newtons per meter, and x, actually x is over here, x is 10 centimeters. So we have to convert that to meters before we do the question. So it's 0.1 squared. So we can cancel the halves, and we get k equals 0.2 times 0 times 5 squared over 0.1 squared, when we take the 0.1 squared over. What does that give us? I should be able to do this. Ahead. Maybe I can't though. Please forgive me if I can't. It equals 25 times 0.2 on 0.01 equals 500. 500. Okay, next question. I'll let you have a look at that quickly. Okay. So at point C, the block still has a speed of 5 meters per second. Point C. This point C, the block encounters a rough patch that provides a constant friction force. So we know there's a friction force going backwards. That brings it to rest at point D. The distance C to D is 2 meters. What is the magnitude of the friction force? So our situation is we have something here. It's moving 5 meters per second with a mass of 0.2. And now we get this friction force going backwards. And we don't know what it is, but we know it covers 2 meters. So really there's actually 2 ways to do this. I'll go with my preferred way. This is another form of energy. Remember, work is friction, or like force times distance. And that's all we have here. We have force times distance. And that equals kinetic energy, which we found originally to equal, I don't have it there, but it was 2.5 joules. Okay, I'll show you. Half mv squared equals half times 0.2 times 5 squared equals, what is it, half times 5 equals 2.5 joules. And here we get the same thing. We can see that this is actually some force pushing it against for distance. It's like this is the force, and then 2 meters later here's the force still, and that's covering that distance. So it's force times distance. And we get that equals force times distance. 2.5 equals force times distance equals force times 2. Therefore, force equals 2.5 on 2 equals 1.25. 1.25 newtons. Yeah. Okay. There's another way to do this. Just let me make sure I'm not teaching you the wrong things first. Yeah, that's right. There's another way to do this, and that is that if we know the velocity, and we know our initial velocity equals 5, our final velocity equals 0, it comes to a stop. Our distance equals 2. We want to figure out what the acceleration is. And from acceleration, we can get F equals ma. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but you put all these values in and you get an answer. But I'd say it takes longer and it's a bit more difficult. I try to avoid it if I could. But it's still fair. Okay, anyway, thanks for that.